In this video, we will discuss dependency injection in Blazor WebAssembly apps. As an example, first let's create a user service, then inject it in this project. For this, let's use JSON placeholder API. Since there are some user data, we may use it and display them in the application UI. This is the JSON placeholder API. You can find it by using this URL. There are many resources, for example, these resources. However, let's use this users dataset. It has 10 users inside this. This is a JSON array. There are 10 JSON objects. This is the first object, name the first user. This is the second object, namely the second user. However, we don't use all elements inside object, only use the selected elements. First, let's create a user class by using the selected elements from the JSON object in the left. Later, we will use it to display these user data in the Blazor component. The user class should like this, and it has properties corresponding to the elements in the JSON object in the left. For example, we have ID, name, username, email, phone, and website. We just selected these elements. We use this user class to display the user data in the UI. Now, let's create it. First, let's create a folder, namely modules folder. Now, let's create the user class. User. Now, let's fill out this class. Finally, website. Save it. This is the user class we are going to use. In the next step, let's create services. First, create services folder. Now, let's create service. Interface, iUser service. First, we create interface. We add a method, IEnumerable user, get users, because the users are array in the JSON dataset. Now, let's implement this service. User service, inherit from iUser service, HTTP JSON. Now let's implement the method. First, we need to inject HTTP client. Now let's implement the service method. This is the service method to be implemented. Just paste it here. Async. We get the data by using the HTTP client. Return it. We need the JSON placeholder API URL. We have it here, copy it, paste it here. Now we have the JSON placeholder API URL. Copy it, paste it here. Now the service class is done. URL, URL. Save it. Now we have completed the user service. In the next step, in order to use this service, we need to register this service in the program file. Service and interface. We need to register it inside the program class. Let's register it here. Build the services at scope. I use a service, then the service. Okay, we have implemented it. Okay, we have registered it. Add scoped, then build it. Now, the service is available throughout this application. In this step, let's explain the service lifetime in the Blazor WebAssembly apps. There are three types of service lifetime in the Blazor WebAssembly apps. The first one is scoped, second is singleton, and the third one is transient. Scoped. Service instance is created per request. However, in the Blazor apps, scoped of the service is per connection, so scoped service behavior like a singleton service. The second one, singleton. Service instance is created and shared through the application lifetime. Blazor apps support this lifetime of service. The third one is transient. Service instance is created every time when it requested or needed. Okay, now we have the user class, we have the services. Next, let's create a component and consume this service. Available users component. Router template, available users. This is the router. First, let's write the code, then explain it. Import some namespaces, models, inject the iUser service. This is the user service we are going to use. Because now you, okay, user, this is the user service, iUser service. We have a method, that method returns IEnumerable user. Therefore, we declare this users IEnumerable. Now we override the uninitialized async. Now we are ready to get the data by using the user service. We have a get user method. Okay. This is the C# code portion of the component. Save it. Now let's write the HTML code portion of the component. Format it. Load them. We create a table. Columns of the table. ID, name, username, email, phone, and the website. Then body. Because our data is array, therefore we need to use for each. in the footer, we are going to display some credits for JSON placeholder, namely data source. We are going to use a element. We have the URL of the JSON placeholder API. This is the URL. Copy it. Data source. Yeah. Paste it here. JSON placeholder. Available user component has been completed. If this is null, display this message. If it is not null, display the actual data, namely the user. This is the C# code portion, and this is the HTML code portion, namely display data. Now let's explain this. Imported some namespaces, then injected the service. This is the user variable. We are getting the user data by using the user services method, by using the user service. We have a get user method inside the service. This is the table header portion. Here we have columns: ID, name, username, email, phone, and the website. Then we have the rows. Because this is array, we are loop through creating all rows by using the for each. This is the credit for JSON placeholder. This is the URL. Now the available user component has been completed. Now we need to call this component in the side navigation bar of this application, because we have a side navigation bar here. Just copy this, paste it here. This is the available user component. We just call it here. Available user, label, available users. Now everything is done. Before run this, let's summarize what we did until now. First step, based on the JSON placeholder user data, we have created a user class in order to display the data in the UI. In the second step, we have created iUser service interface, then implemented it. Inside this service, we are getting the user data from the JSON placeholder API. Namely, in the second step, we have completed the iUser service. In the third step, we have registered the user service in the program file. Now the service is available throughout this application. In the step 4, we have created an available users component. Inside the component, we have injected iUser service. And by using this service, we get the user's data. Finally, in the step 5, we have called it the available users component in the side navigation bar of this application. This is the 5 steps of this tutorial. Now, let's run this application. .NET Watch Run. Now it's building. Okay, it's running. Now it's running. This is the available user. It's running. If I click this available user, it will display data here, hopefully. Click it. Okay, it displays. Thank you for your watching. Please subscribe.